Hello, Mike Bradley. Hope you are doing well as always. So, unless you've been living under a rock, a very big band have gotten back together after 16 years of since they split up, and that band is Oasis. Love or hate them, they are a pretty big band and a pretty big deal. And over here in the UK at the moment, they've done 4 gigs now, I believe. They did a couple of nights in Cardiff, and they recently did a couple gigs in Manchester. And I'm so glad that they are back together for many reasons. But the main thing is that people are talking about music again, and people are buzzing about music and seeing a band. You know, when was the last time people were chatting and news coverage, old media, new media are talking about a band, a group of guys, a drummer, a bass player, 3 guitarists now, and a singer. They've probably got keys in there as well, but a bunch of guys playing songs on stage. When was the last time that was really spoken about? It's been a while. And I think it's amazing that there's so much, buzz about a band again. And it's so important for music because, really, bands don't exist like that anymore. Oasis were the last band to make it as big as they did. Certainly in UK, but I mean, sorry if I'm playing ignorant here on other countries and that. I know they weren't as big in America as they were in the UK. In the UK, they were huge, in the 90s and into the noughties as well. But they were the last band where, they were working class guys. They didn't come from money. And, got discovered by, the typical A&R man in a yellow jacket and a rucksack. Not that Alan McGee is that, but they got discovered and then went big, And unfortunately, the music industry now and the artists in the charts, I could be bold to say this, 90 to 95% of them all come from money. It takes a lot of money to get a number one. Like for example, if Ed Sheeran releases an album, you are seeing him everywhere. He's on all the talk shows. He's on all these shows. He's probably, and now of course, social media is such a big thing as well. So there'd be a load of Instagram and TikTok campaigns going on, and you'll be seeing a load of Ed Sheeran. He'll be out busking in the street somewhere, all this kind of hype, For that to happen takes a lot of money. You go into, there's not many record stores about, but over the UK we still have HMV. You go in there, you're seeing Ed Sheeran, Ed Sheeran, Ed Sheeran. That is a lot of money. And then when you're like, I saw it recently when I probably last year somewhere, and I was seeing on Spotify about Wet Leg, this band Wet Leg. Now I hadn't heard of Wet Leg; they were a brand new band, and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, where have you come from? And to be plastered all over Spotify, and then they were on, I think, ironically, Graham Norton that week, and they're on that, a brand new band. Now, I don't know much about them at all. I haven't gone on Wikipedia before hitting record. I probably should have, but, this is just all complete stream of consciousness right now. But for them to be even a big advertisement on Spotify, that is going to cost a lot of money. And then I'm sure they were plastered on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, your book, everything. That cost a lot of money. That doesn't just happen. So did they get to number one? I don't know. I'll find out. I'll put something up on the screen. But for them to have that much, marketing going on costs a lot of money. So I'm going to put it out there that band, Wet Leg, and it wasn't Wet Leg, it was the last dinner party. That's who it was. It was the last dinner party I saw. But Wet Leg were the same. They're a new band, but sorry, it was the last dinner party. They were just plastered everywhere on Spotify, and I thought, you know what? They obviously are coming from money. That's not their fault. You know what I mean? I'm not going, oh, you can't come from, millionaire parents. I'm not, fair enough. Good on you that you were born into that, But the working class lad, the working class girl, it's very hard now to get that big break, I mean, the Beatles were working class guys. They met Brian Epstein, who had money and was able then to, finance their demos and all that kind of stuff, I believe Sam Fender, he's a working class lad, and he got discovered by someone with money who was able to fund them, So money's a big thing, and sorry, I'm going off on one now about money, but it does take a lot of money to get a successful act successful. But the great thing now about, like I say, with Oasis playing, is that people are talking about music. It hasn't happened certainly for a long time, as far as I'm aware. And especially a guitar band, people might talk, obviously Taylor Swift, all that kind of stuff, but it's a completely different genre, and seeing the Gallagher boys go back, well, boys, they're knocking 60, certainly Noel is anyway, but seeing them come back on stage and start rocking out, I was like, yeah. I mean, like Liam, for example, he does say the wrong things, and they swear like chimneys, and you're like, what? But you know what? You can't take your eyes off Liam Gallagher when he's on stage. You just can't, It's basically, punk, like Johnny Rotten. I'm not a massive Sex Pistols fan. They couldn't play that great. They couldn't sing that great, but you bloody watched them, didn't you? You know what I mean? You couldn't take your eyes off Johnny Rotten when you're seeing him play and that. And it's the same thing with them. And ironically, I've been getting a bit of an itch lately for a black Les Paul custom. There's a long story about it, but recently I'm just like, I haven't wanted a new guitar for a bit, and there's no need for a new guitar at the moment, but I'm starting to get a little bit of a craving for a black Les Paul custom. And then I've been Richie Sambora, as I talk about him a lot over on YouTube now. At that Wembley show in '95, he was using a black Les Paul custom. No covers. I wouldn't want covers on it. I'll take them off because of the Sambora thing. But I'm just like, I just got a bit of an itch for a Les Paul custom. And Noel comes out with a black Les Paul custom. And I know it's been, because I've been geeking about it. It's a wicked guitar. If you're a big Oasis fan, Chiefs Guitars, I think it's called. I'll double check it and I'll put it on the screen. And whoever's put that site together is brilliant, and they've gone in detail about the history of Noel Gallagher's guitars. It's great. I've been geeking out on that. And it's a new Les Paul. And then the builder, I've forgotten his name, but he posted on Instagram saying, just getting ready for a tour. No, just made this guitar for a tour. And obviously Noel has now sent it to someone and it's got it relicked. And it looks like a Neil Young tribute. It's got a P90, I think it's 2 P90s. But I know Noel, I've read, he's a big Neil Young fan, and I think that's a little tip of the hat to Neil Young there. But I saw that and I was like, oh man, he's got a black Les Paul custom. Which just got me even more excited. And obviously, I've got a 345 here. Noel is famous for playing a 355 or 355 if you're in the States. And, Marty McFly, my old guitar teacher, and Noel Gallagher are big influences on my wanting a red 345 or 335, semi. And again, it's just great. Is Noel Gallagher the best guitar player in the world? No. But for me, he was for a while. So I started playing in 1996. And the night, you know, you can, like with anything, you look back at it and you, at the time, you don't realise how great it was. But when I started to play guitar, you know, it really was the last golden age of bands and guitar music, you know. Britpop was in its full flight, you know. The Spice Girls were massive. I can still remember the first time hearing Wannabe. It was the end of year 7 at school. So yeah, summer of 1996, and hearing the Spice Girls. You know, I didn't know at the time Britpop. Now it was just the music on the radio. You know, and it was the year I started playing guitar. But you know, you got Oasis, it's all off the top of my head. Oasis, Pulp, Sleeper, Shed 7, Ocean Colour Scene, Radiohead were kind of in there. Reef were great with Place Your Hands On, Manic Street Preachers. Who am I forgetting? God, what's their name? Bernard Sumner was in it. Suede. The list goes on and on and on, right? It was a great time, and I was getting Total Guitar magazine every month and learning riffs and stuff. And this is all before the internet, never mind YouTube, you know. But Noel Gallagher, and Blur, of course, because there was the Oasis and Blur rivalry, which probably was hyped up in the media. I'm sure they are pals, really, but who knows. But I was definitely in the Oasis camp, and you know, because there was no internet and all that kind of stuff, I'd heard of Eric Clapton and I'd heard of Jimi Hendrix, but I was seeing Oasis a lot on TV. And I remember they came out with the song Do You Know What I Mean off the Be Here Now, their third album. And it's like in like a derelict kind of factory, outside a factory, the music video was. And it's the exact same chords as Wonderwall. It's brilliant. He became a millionaire twice over using the same chords. But there was a wah-wah solo in the song Do You Know What I Mean? And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing. You can hum all his solos because they're kind of all the same. But I just thought that is so cool. He had a flying V, you know, and a wah-wah solo was going on. I was like, yeah, man. That's what I want, you know? And yes, they're not the most technically challenging thing, but you can hum them. They're melodic, and that's what it should all be about. I think I remember learning Live Forever. That might have been the first solo I learned, and through Tab as well. And then I remember learning Don't Look Back in Anger solo and playing it at a school concert. And there's a piano player there and a drummer, and then me on the stage with my little small custom, I don't even know what the wattage is, 6-watt amp. If you watched, there's a very old video I did. I'll put a link up here, and I'm using the amp, and the amp blew up. Literally, sparks happened either in the video or just before I hit recording. But anyway, I was using that amp, and I remember being on the stage. And I didn't sing, no way would I have sang back then. And I was just playing, you know, the chords to the song. And I learnt the solo, did the solo, didn't have any pedals, didn't know that there was such a thing. But I remember doing that solo and looking up, and this girl I really fancied was in the front, and I was far too shy to say I like her or anything like that. And I looked up, and I saw her looking at me and smiling. And I was like, she's smiling at me. This is great, you know what I mean? Playing an Oasis song. So, you know, again, sorry man, I'm using this as like a journal right now. I just think it's so great that Oasis have got back together and people are getting excited about watching live music, and more importantly, a live band. You know, again, like them or hate them, you know, they got some great songs, and no other band, I don't think, could be doing what they're doing right now. And I said this earlier to someone. I think if Oasis was to do a residency, I always struggle saying that word. Residency. There we go. If they were to do that at Wembley Stadium, right, for the whole of August, every day, 30 gigs back to back, right? Might have a couple of days off here and there, but let's say 30 gigs in August every day. If they were to do that, I guarantee you they would sell out every single night, 70,000 plus whatever it is. And there's not many bands who could do that. I think Ed Sheeran did 5 nights in a row there. I think he did. And that's one man. And I think that's incredible as well. Again, like him or lump him, that's amazing. One man on stage is holding all those people. Fantastic. But I reckon Oasis could do that. They could just do 30 back-to-back gigs at Wembley Stadium. I forget what it is now, 75,000 at Wembley? 75 to 80,000? I reckon that would sell every night. So it's great. I mean, are you excited about Oasis? Do you have a ticket? I can say that I do have a ticket. I was able to get one, and I'm seeing them the end of September though. So right, I didn't get a chance to, the tickets went so quick that first time round. It's a shame because they're playing August the 3rd, which is my birthday, and that would have been really cool, but just couldn't get a ticket. So, but yeah, we're going 28th of September, I think. And part of me is hoping like they're still liking each other and I haven't got like jaded already, because they got a lot of gigs. They're going all over the shop. I think they're in Australia and then coming back to the UK to do Wembley again. But I'm so excited, man. So excited. My first ever proper gig. I'd been to like blues clubs. I remember seeing Mick Taylor from the Rolling Stones when I was about 15 at a blues club near me at the time. My dad took me. But my first proper gig was Oasis in 2002 at Finchley Park when they were on the Heathen Chemistry tour album. And I was 17 and I passed out. Because I hadn't eaten any food all day, and I was with some I just joined my old band Biff Tech actually, and they are all 3 and 4 years older than me, and some of their friends went. So I was 17 and they were all, you know, was that 21, 22 years old, maybe some 23. So I didn't want to be a little wimp saying, oh, I want to eat, and we were all drinking. And I remember I had a packet of crisps in my jacket. I had a big shot jacket. It was like a 2-in-1. Remember it was raining. It was a big jacket. So you could take the outside off of a thermal jacket and then another jacket on top of it. So a big old jacket, and the Charlatans were playing. And I'm not a Charlatans fan actually, so I didn't mind that I passed out then. But we had been drinking quite hard. Again, I'm only 17, and all I'd probably had was probably a couple of slices of toast. It's now about 5 o'clock. I'm probably 7 pints in. And I remember I just went, and then kind of coming to, laying on my back. And I think my mate Paul was like slapping me in the face, and they got me up. I was like, get off me, get off me. I remember doing that. I was like, get off. And I'm like, Mike, you just passed out. I was like, I'm fine. And they let go of me and I passed out again. So rock and roll. But I was good for Oasis, you know. But there was so many people there. Finsbury Park was a big old place, and so many people there, and it was raining. I can still remember like opening my mouth trying to get rainwater into my mouth, but at the same time being very careful because it was an Oasis gig in 2002, and you know, lots of Liam wannabes were there. There's a lot of dicks and people pissing in bottles and lobbying them, you know, over the crowd. So if you're trying to get rainwater in your mouth, and then there's potential urine flying over, yeah, that's bad news as well. But yeah, that was my first ever proper gig. was Oasis. So I'm very excited to be seeing them again. But yeah, you going? You going to go and see them? Let me know. And yeah, I'll see you there. Is it Sunday 28th I'm going? Yes, Sunday 28th. It's going to be great. Anyway, I'll let you be. Hopefully you enjoyed my random music rant of the 90s and the industry and all that kind of stuff. But it's good to talk, as a wise man once said. Anyway, I've been Mike Brady, you've been you. Thanks for your love and support. I'll see you soon. Mike Brady signing out. Bye.